All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive on something super important for all you UPSC aspirants out there.
You got it.
We're talking about federalism in India.
A classic.
Yeah, and we're really going to go beyond just the surface level stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the kind of center versus state headlines you see all the time.
Exactly.
And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the nuances. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And we're going to be using this really insightful article from the Indian Express, published on March 8th, 2025, to kind of guide our discussion.
Yeah, it's a great piece. It uses a lot of really current examples to really illustrate, how complex this whole federalism thing can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Like we're talking delimitation debates, the situation in Kashmir.
Right.
And this whole clash between Tamil Nadu and the center.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Over education and language policy.
You know, that's a perfect example of what the article calls the messy reality.
Oh, yeah.
Of federalism.
It's never clean.
You've got the DMK, accusing the center of trying to impose Hindi, the holding back funds, all this.
Yep.
And then you have the BJP saying, oh, it's just political posturing.
Right.
How do you even parse that out?
And that's what's so tricky. It's like, where does the party politics end?
Yeah.
And where do the genuine, concerns about states' rights actually begin?
Yeah. Is this about genuine, worry about autonomy?
Yeah.
Or is this just...
Or is it just point scoring?
Yeah, point scoring, exactly. And I feel like that's something...
I think it's huge for UPSC.
Oh, yeah.
For aspirants to grasp that nuance.
For sure.
You think about it, how do you analyze a situation like this for your mains answer?
Exactly.
Do you focus on the political clash or the underlying federalism issues?
How do you even approach it?
It's tough.
Yeah, it's you need to be able to see through the political noise to the core principles at play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this article gives us a good framework. For doing that, it reminds us that you can have all these neat theories about how power should be divided.
Right, in the textbooks.
Yeah, but in practice, things get messy.
Always. Yeah.
There's always going to be historical baggage, political maneuvering, regional differences, all these things that complicate the picture.
Oh, yeah, it makes it so much harder to analyze.
Absolutely.
Reading this article got me thinking about those centrally sponsored schemes. Initially, I'm sure they were essential for boosting sectors like health and education, especially in states that were lagging behind.
Right.
But now, I don't know, it feels like they could be hindering a state's ability to...
Interesting.
To tailor policies to their own specific needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's an excellent observation.
Yeah.
You've hit on a key tension. In Indian federalism. To take education.
Yeah.
A centrally sponsored scheme like the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was so crucial for getting more kids into school.
Of course, yeah.
But now as states become more developed and have different priorities, they might want more autonomy over their education policies.
So does that mean we need to rethink the balance of power?
Yeah.
When it comes to these centrally sponsored schemes?
That's the question.
How much say should the sender have?
Yeah.
How much should be left to the states?
Exactly.
These are the kind of questions that could definitely come up in the UPSC mains, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about education.
Right.
Think about healthcare, environmental policies, infrastructure projects. In many cases, centrally sponsored schemes might still be relevant.
Yeah.
But the way they are designed and implemented needs to evolve to reflect the changing realities of Indian federalism.
Okay, so we've got this tension between the center and the states, but the article makes this really interesting point about there actually being three key players in Indian federalism.
Yeah.
The center, individual states, and then states acting collectively.
Collectively.
That last one kind of caught me off guard, I have to admit.
Right. It's not something we usually think about.
Yeah.
But the example they use,
the
GSD Council, is a perfect illustration. Here you have states coming together, deliberating, making decisions that are binding on all of them.
Wow.
It's cooperative federalism.
Right.
But not in the traditional sense of the center dictating terms.
So instead of just reacting to what the center does,
states
can actually work together to shape policies that affect them all.
Exactly.
That's kind of empowering when you think about it. It's like they have more agency than we often give them credit for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if this model could be applied to other areas.
Ooh, interesting.
What about those contentious interstate water disputes?
Okay.
Or coordinating environmental policies across state borders?
Mm-hmm.
Could this collaborative approach offer a way forward?
That's a good question.
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Especially for those of you prepping for the UPSC mains.
For sure. It's definitely a fresh perspective on how states can, exercise their power within the federal structure. But let's be real.
Yeah.
There's another layer to this whole federalism puzzle that the article doesn't shy away from.
Mm-hmm.
Political parties.
Ah, yes, the elephant in the room.
Right.
Even though they aren't formally part of, the constitutional framework.
Right.
Political parties wield immense influence on how federalism plays out in practice.
And that influence isn't always positive, is it?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah. The article talks about how party loyalty and internal hierarchies can sometimes overshadow a chief minister's responsibility to their state.
Precisely. You're a chief minister from a particular party, and your party high command has a certain stance on a policy issue, even if that stance isn't in the best interests of your state.
Right.
You might be pressured to toe the party line.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is. And then there's the anti-defection law.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to prevent instability, but it also limits legislators' ability to act independently.
Right.
It's like they're more accountable to the party whip than to the people who elected them.
Exactly.
How does that impact federalism?
Well, imagine a scenario where a state legislature is debating a bill that has implications for federalism, like, say, a new taxation policy.
Okay, yeah.
Legislators might have reservations.
Right.
But because of the anti-defection law, they might be reluctant to voice dissent or vote against the party line, even if it means going against the interests of their state.
So it creates this tricky situation where party interests can potentially undermine the very principles of federalism.
That's the challenge, right?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how can we strengthen federalism when party politics often overshadows regional interests?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's something UPSC aspirants should really grapple with.
Oh, for sure.
And it's not just about theoretical debates.
Right.
It has real-world consequences for policymaking, for the distribution of resources, for the relationship between the center and the states.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another major issue highlighted in the article, the horizontal imbalance between states in terms of development. Yeah. I remember this term from my UPSC notes.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic.
But the article puts it into perspective in a way that's really helpful.
It's not enough to just understand the vertical division of powers between the center and the states.
Okay.
We also need to consider the horizontal disparities that exist between states. Yeah. Some states are economically advanced, others are lagging behind.
Of course.
Some have strong social indicators, others are struggling.
Right.
This uneven development can really skew the dynamics of federalism.
Right. And it's not just an economic issue.
No.
This imbalance also affects the political clout of different states.
Absolutely.
A more developed state might have more leverage in negotiations with the center, which can further marginalize less developed states.
Exactly.
And this kind of circles back to our earlier discussion about centrally sponsored schemes.
Right.
While they can be helpful, they also need to be designed in a way that addresses these horizontal imbalances.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah. Otherwise, they risk exacerbating existing inequalities.
For sure.
This makes me think about the whole debate around fiscal federalism.
Okay.
You know how revenues are shared between the center and the states? Does the current system adequately address the needs of less developed states?
Right.
Or does it perpetuate the imbalance?
That's a crucial question for UPSC aspirants to consider.
Okay.
The article doesn't explicitly delve into fiscal federalism.
Okay.
But it hints at the need for a more equitable distribution of resources.
Right.
And it raises this subtle but important warning.
Okay.
Growing authoritarian tendencies, wherever they may come from, can further undermine federalism.
Right.
By concentrating power and stifling regional autonomy.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
It underscores how fragile the balance of power can be in a federal system.
For sure.
But amidst all these challenges, the article also offers a glimmer of hope, doesn't it?
It does.
Remember that point about states acting collectively?
Yes, that's a key takeaway.
Yeah.
The GST Council is a prime example of how states can come together to make decisions that benefit everyone. It's not a perfect system, but it shows that cooperative federalism can work.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, could this model be applied to other areas where we see conflict or uneven development?
Really makes you think about all the different possibilities, you know?
Yeah.
Especially for someone like me prepping for the UPSC.
Right.
It's like a whole new way of looking at federalism. It's not just as like a static structure, but as a dynamic process where states can really assert their agency.
And that's precisely the kind of insight that can set you apart.
Oh, yeah.
In the UPSC exam.
Okay.
It's not just about memorizing facts and figures.
Right.
It's about demonstrating a deep understanding of the nuances, the challenges, the potential solutions within India's federal system.
Speaking of potential solutions, there was this one line in the article that really got me thinking.
Okay.
It asked whether states themselves acting collectively rather than through the center could ensure fairer implementation of national policies.
That's a fascinating question, isn't it?
It is.
It kind of flips the script on how we usually think about federalism.
Right.
Instead of relying on the center to ensure fairness.
Yeah.
Could states themselves take the lead?
Like a bottom-up approach.
It's almost like a bottom-up approach.
Yeah, to addressing those horizontal imbalances we talked about. Yeah. And it's not just about fairness.
Right.
It could also be about efficiency.
Sure.
States often have a better understanding of their own unique needs and challenges.
Yeah.
So if they had more control over how national policies are implemented, they could potentially tailor those policies to be more effective on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this ties back to the idea of the GST Council.
Okay.
It's not just about states coming together to make decisions.
Right.
It's about them having the power to implement those decisions in a way that works best for their specific circumstances.
Okay. So as a UPSC aspirant, what am I supposed to take away from all of this?
That's the big question, right?
I mean, it's clear that federalism is complex.
Yes.
It's dynamic and it's constantly evolving.
Always changing.
But what are the key things I need to keep in mind for the exam?
Okay, first and foremost, remember that federalism is not just a theoretical concept.
Okay.
It has real-world implications for how India functions as a nation.
Pay attention to current events.
Okay.
Analyze those events through the lens of federalism.
Right.
And be prepared to articulate your understanding in your answers.
So don't just focus on the what.
Right.
Like what happened in Tamil Nadu or what the GST Council is doing.
Yeah.
Also focus on the why.
Exactly.
Why are these issues important for federalism? And what are the potential long-term consequences?
Exactly.
Got it.
And don't shy away from expressing your own opinions.
Oh, okay.
The UPSC examiners are looking for critical thinking.
Yeah.
For original insights, for a demonstrated ability to engage with complex issues like federalism.
All right, folks. That brings us to the end of our deep dive into federalism in India.
It's been a journey.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
From the messy reality of federalism in practice to the intriguing possibilities of states acting collectively.
Absolutely.
So much to think about.
And remember, this is just the starting point.
Yeah.
We encourage you to delve deeper into this topic.
To read the full article in the Indian Express from March 8th, 2025.
For sure.
And to continue exploring the ever-evolving dynamics of Indian federalism.
Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more UPSC-focused deep dives.
Yes.
And leave a comment below if you have any questions or want to share your thoughts. Until next time, happy studying.